this is really a video about our potential new owners, PAI Capital, who apparently are lodging a takeover bid for the club. This should really just be 10 questions that I would like to put to them, which I think are pertinent, I think are relevant to West Ham fans. The sort of stuff I want to know if they're going to take our club on. Because I don't think it's just enough not to be Gold Sullivan. I don't think that gets you that gets you in. You've actually got to be better and you've got to have more money, as far as I'm concerned. You're going to have to prove that to us. That's what I think. Prove that to us that is the case. Those are the questions. Before I do that, I feel the need to go on the defensive a little bit and defend myself, really, because most of the people who watch these videos, and thank you so much because you tune in, so many of you every day, you know my thoughts on Gold Sullivan. And what I'm about to say now, you already know, because I've done 10, 15 videos on it. I'm not impressed with Gold Sullivan and what they've done. However, there's this sort of linear, this sort of binary way of thinking at the moment, which has been thrown at me the last few days, which is, oh, you don't want this new ownership group. Clearly you must love Gold Sullivan. And I find it infuriating. It's the tactics of the playground. And so this is not really pitched at, this is pitched at a very, very small percentage. And also people are going to watch this video possibly for the first time. You need to know my stance on Gold Sullivan. But I said yesterday, I had the same thing yesterday. I said yesterday I wasn't too bothered about Danny Ings. I thought it was a bit too injury prone for West Ham. Somebody actually said to me, oh, so you don't want Danny Ings, so you don't think West Ham should sign a striker then? No, that's not what I'm saying, but it's this black and white thinking. So just because I am dubious about the new takeover consortium doesn't mean I love Gold Sullivan. Let me tell you my stance on Gold Sullivan just now. I'll do it as quickly as I can because I want to get onto the meat and bones of the video, which is the new group who are looking to invest in West Ham. Gold Sullivan, I feel, should be judged purely on their own pledges, their own set of pledges. I'm not going to go through the 10-point plan. We've done it before. I'm surprised we haven't to do it again. But a massive part of it was the move to the Olympic Stadium. The move to the Olympic Stadium was meant to yield bigger and better things for West Ham. It just hasn't happened. If I were to try and paraphrase it, why should we move from Upton Park to the Olympic Stadium? Well, I think that what it was sold to us was we'll be able to compete with the top clubs. And when we're talking top clubs, I'm thinking Chelsea, Manchester United, clubs like that. Okay, fine, we want to compete with those because financially we can't do it at Upton Park. That's what I got from it. So I would expect we move to the Olympic Stadium and we can start buying world-class players. I don't know, spending £150 million a year? I don't know. Basically, we should be able to elevate ourselves above and beyond most of the clubs in the Premier League. It hasn't happened. Everything we're doing now, we could have done at Upton Park. So I think that has been a failure. Crystal Palace are buying more players than us. We didn't move to Stratford to be a comparable size club to Crystal Palace. I only dig them out because they got whatever 30,000 fans or whatever the case may be, and they're still in their original stadium. It hasn't worked. We're nowhere near competing with those top guys. I understand we had a good season last season. I think that's great. I really enjoyed it, and I don't think we're going to particularly struggle this season. However, I don't feel that's because of the Olympic Stadium. It's because of David Moyes. And before the owners start claiming credit on David Moyes, they sacked him once. So you know, it ain't great. It ain't great. And I do also believe the only reason they got him back the second time is because there was either him or Chris Hughton available, and Chris Hughton wasn't particularly palatable at the time. Nobody else wanted the job. So I think that success last season was good, but it weren't because we moved from Upton Park. Let me get that straight. Secondly, I don't feel our owners have got enough money to drive us forward anymore. I really don't. I look at the ownerships and the ownership, not the ownership models, but I look at the people that own a lot of the other clubs in the Premier League, and they all seem to have more money. Now, look, what's David Sullivan worth? Just less than £1 billion, I think, something like that. I'd imagine most of it's tied up in property. I'm guessing he doesn't want to liquidate his assets and put 20% of his net wealth into the club every year. He just doesn't want to do it. He's not going to do it, and you can see in this transfer window that we're struggling anyway. So I don't think they can take us forward anymore. I don't think they can plough the money into the club that's need be. I'll give you two really quick examples. Leicester, they seem to have enough money. They haven't brought any money in yet, but they were able to sign £40 million worth of players. Patson Daka, somebody else's name escapes me. The other one is Aston Villa, not just because they sold Jack Grealish, because I don't think that's a great look, selling your best player, don't be wrong, but they'd already bought in Buendia before for £40 million. They had the money to get Jack Grealish's replacement before Jack Grealish was sold, and then since then they've gone and spent 100 million anyway. We don't seem to have that money whereby our owners can just give the club money. We seem to get out payday loans and finance facilities. So I don't think that's great from the owners. One of the biggest things that I think is a complete and abject failure is they've been at the club over 10 years now, and the recruitment is still it's still in a I was going to say a state of flux. It's actually in a process of an embryonic process. It's still in the process of being built. It's new. We're waiting on a director of football. We're at the process of appointing scouts. It's ridiculous. When you forget recruitment, if you are 10 years into any project, you should be reaping the benefits. You should be bearing the fruit of everything that you've put into place. Not starting again. We should have been for the last 6 years reaping the crop of what we've sown, if that's the right thing to say. Not starting it's the recruitment is a hash, and you can see that now. It's happening right now. I believe we've got some money. I don't believe we know where to spend it, how to spend it, what to do. I don't think we've been very good at negotiating, identifying any of the things that are necessary to bring in players. And then you've got the communications, which I think have been poor by and large. Left some poor people at the club. When I say poor people, I mean the employees at the club, basically sweeping up behind a mess left by the people at the top. It's akin to somebody, it's akin to a kid trying to dig a hole in the sand at the beach to have a bit of fun and just trying to dig the hole deeper, but there's someone next to him with a shovel, and every time a shovel of sand comes out the hole, someone else puts a shovel of sand in. That's what I feel that the employees at West Ham are like sometimes. The botched ticketing that we've just seen that's still not been sorted out. The communications with fans, the building a fan panel, which is meant to be an independent fan panel, but the club deciding who goes on it, who represents the fans, the whole thing, the configuration of the stadium, the seating, the pledges to bring the local vendors from Upton Park with them. These are all bad looks. There's lots and lots of things, and it all leads to the fact that I just don't think that the ownership of West Ham are in tune with the West Ham fans, which is a bad thing. Look, take 4 or 5 of those points, take all of them. I do not think that Gold Sullivan's reign has been a success, and I don't think they can take us forward anymore. I think what they pledged to do, they haven't been able to do. Simple as that. Okay, I had to say that before I get on to what I want to talk to is PAI Capital, because having said all of that, I'm still not in a position where I think, well, anyone's better than them. Well, they're not. Look at who Gold Sullivan sold Birmingham to. The guy they sold Birmingham to was worse than them. He was a criminal. He got banged up for fraud within a year. The club's a mess. It hasn't come back since. So they have the capacity to sell the club badly. So what I want to know, if anybody is going to come in and buy West Ham, I want to know, are you better than the people that are there now? Can you afford it? Because I don't think Gold Sullivan can afford it anymore. So what are you going to do? Basically, do you have the money? I'm going to go with the questions at the moment. And then it's not just that. If you have the money, how are we going to ensure that you're going to spend it wisely? Because a fool and his money are easily parted, right? How do we know that it's going to go on a good infrastructure? How do we know these things? Basically, are you going to put into place? So you do what Roman Abramovich did, or let's put Sheikh Mansour. Basically, Sheikh Mansour, I don't know if you know this, when he took over at Man City, he basically he went and bought all the backroom team. I don't just mean coaches. I mean the recruitment, the director of football. He bought all the staff over from Barcelona. He basically nicked Barcelona's staff. And he pretty much said, I don't know how to run a football club. You lot do, you do it. Are you going to do that? And if so, who? How? I've got questions. So these are my questions. I'm sorry it's taken so long to get to them, but I did feel the need to make the point. I hope I haven't bored you silly. Crikey, it's 10 minutes into the video. Okay, so my first question for PAI Capital is, why a consortium? That's the first thing I'd like to know. Why are you a consortium? Because a consortium says to me that not one single person in the group has the necessary funds to run the club. And so there's my initial worry with this. Now, it's not that I'm totally against. If this consortium, if this If this group of people can answer all these questions and answer them positively, I'm all for it. I'll tell you that now. I really can. If we get good answers, I'm all for it. But this first one, why a consortium? Are we saying that not one single person there has the necessary funds? In which case, how many of you and why? How much money have you got? Because this is the key thing. That's why I'm asking the question. Shakeman Sword didn't need a consortium. Fenway Group don't need a consortium. Abramovich, Shakeman Sword, a lot of these people don't need a consortium. The people that own Leicester, no consortium. The guy that's trying to take, crikey, well, the guy there, I guess, look, Kroenke ain't a great owner for Arsenal, let's be fair. But they had Usmanov, who was there before. I mean, was he worth 40 billion or something like that, Usmanov? Clearly didn't need a consortium, wanted to buy it. And then you've got the guy who owns Spotify, worth billions, doesn't need a consortium. It's just one bloke on his own saying, I'll do it. And you would imagine if one of those really super rich people, somebody had come to him and said, oh, do you want to make a consortium so we can buy a club? They'd turn around and say, I don't know. No, I don't want a consortium. I'll buy it on my own. This is my project. This is my whim, and I'll deal with it there. So why a consortium? That's the first thing. It may well be that actually there's a group of minds there who you think collectively can do a good job. That could be one reason. The other reason is individually you just don't have enough money. Which leads me to question 2, which is who's involved. Because from what I can see, and this is just the stuff that we've seen on the internet, and the people, as I understand, there is a London office, but the main office is in Hong Kong, and there are a group of people who are there. I'm not seeing any names that I really recognise, apart from sort of Martin Brundle's brother, who I only sort of recognise because I know Martin Brundle is, who's a former Formula 1 driver and a very, very good commentator of Formula 1, but I know nothing about his brother. I'm certainly not aware that, I'm aware that Martin Brundle's co-commentator, who's a very nice guy, is a West Ham fan, but I wasn't aware that Martin Brundle's brother is. I also don't know how much money he's worth. And when we looked at the people that were involved in the director level or founders of this company, wasn't seeing an awful lot of money there. It wasn't screaming out with anyone that was on the Forbes rich list. So obviously, if we want money paid into the club, who are these people? We're being told, because we were initially told that these were a London-based company with full of West Ham fans. Well, I've not seen any yet. So I think clearly there's some. If there are more people in this, clearly there's some people hiding in the shadows. Who are those people? That's what I would like to know. Who are the people involved? The third question I've got is, and I don't mean to be mischievous, I really don't. Why Philip Beard as the front man of this? Why is he Mick Jagger in the band, if you know what I mean? Hear me out here for I say hear me out, I guess if you listen to the video you are. Philip Beard. Okay, let's say you were building a consortium and you wanted to take charge of a club for whatever reason. So let's say you've got a good reason for building a consortium, and then you think, okay, we're going to need someone to head this up. What are you going to do? Any consortium for anything, you're going to, okay, do you know what we need to do? We need to get someone with a good track record in this and who was an expert in their field. Why didn't you go and nick Trevor Birch from the EFL? Because he's the guy, right? I've got that right, haven't I? He's the main guy for takeovers. He has presided over most successful takeovers. In fact, he was the one that oiled the wheels for Abramovich. He's done a number of really good takeovers. He's employed at the moment, but he's got a tough job. And if you're as rich as we hope you are, just go and get Trevor Birch. What's the other guy? I think his name might have been Christian Purslow. Did Liverpool, did 3 or 4 of them. Again, someone with a good track record of football. So why was it that you, with all due respect to Philip Beard, I don't know him, but he's taken over one club and it failed, or he oiled the wheels of the Tony Fernandez takeover at QPR. I mean, it wasn't a success; it was an abject failure. I think did they not take over? I might have this wrong. They took them over in the Premier League and they've not been back since. Certainly struggled financially. So that's what I'd like to know. Why have you, as a consortium, identified that this guy is the man to take us to be the figurehead, to lead the consortium, or to be the spokesman, whatever it may be? That's a question I'd like to hear. Honestly, I'd like to hear all these. I'd like to hear the answers to these, because I understand they did a Q&A with somebody, a website, I think it's Hammers News. It may have been a website called Hammers News the other day. these are the questions I would like to have asked, and I would like answers. And again, I wouldn't want a PR spin on that, telling us, why Philip Beard, who is involved, and why a consortium. No, first three. Question number 4: why West Ham? Why West Ham? Now, I understand the. You'd have to excuse me. I'm a little bit dubious about this, particularly when I hear the West Ham legends involved and stuff like this. I'm pretty sure that any and every consortium is probably savvy enough to get a couple of West Ham legends on board, but it doesn't mean that whoever financially is involved has a history with this. So why West Ham? Because from what I can see, that it's not littered. The company's not littered with a load of West Ham fans. We're told that they are. But we're also told that we're London-based, and it appears it's not. There's just an office, but it's not the main one. So why West Ham? The suspicion is I suspect it ain't because of a massive love of West Ham, but I would love to be proven wrong. I'd love for these people to come out of the woodwork and say, no, it's always been West Ham, because that's not the be-all and end-all, because I remember at Birmingham City, Gold Sullivan saying that they were desperate to own West Ham. Wanting to own West Ham ain't necessarily good enough. As I say, you don't have to be, but I'm just interested as to why West Ham, and I'd love an honest answer. Maybe it is Stratford. And you know what? If it is Stratford and we get bought up by somebody rich, maybe Gold Sullivan can turn around and go, there you go, our idea was right. It worked. Didn't work for West Ham fans, but it worked for the board because they've moved us to a bigger stadium and got more money. So that's question number 4. Question number 5 is, I don't understand I'd like to know why the half-baked social media campaign. This is a strange one for me. Let me get this right. I don't particularly want to dig out Thomas Skinner, but because I actually feel sorry for him, I actually feel that he's being thrown out under a bus a little bit. I'm aware that by the time, this is a long video to do, by the time I've edited this video and put it up, PAI may have made their statement, but it weren't a good look for poor old Thomas, who clearly is a down-to-earth West Ham fan, who's clearly had someone in his ear, and again, he says he knows PAI without being told any details. Well, who is it? I mean, have you known them recently, or is this somebody you literally used to walk down Green Street with when you were a kid? And this is it. But I do feel by them saying they were going to release a statement and not releasing a statement, they sort of throw him under the bus, because it's a funny way to conduct your business on social media, really. I think they sort of almost hung him out to dry a little bit, because he started getting a load of stick on social media. Look, I popped on Twitter yesterday. I lasted 10 minutes, and I thought, this is pretty toxic as it can be, particularly at times like this. And I thought, oh, crikey, that's my Twitter for the month, But I saw him getting stick on there, and I felt a bit sorry for him. Now, don't get me wrong, I think he's put himself in a position by saying, I know the guys and so on and so forth, but they've let him down there. They've definitely let him down. So why, I'd like to ask that question, why are you trying to communicate? I'm not sure why you communicate with fans from the outset anyway. I think you buy a club, I think you do your due diligence, I think you get the solicitors involved, and you just do that. I find an article with a, no offence, again, with a medium-sized West Ham website or whatever. Why don't you go to Knees Up Mother Brown? Why don't you go to West Ham Fan TV and take the biggest West Ham YouTube channel? I find that weird. And then, somebody on Twitter I find that really weird. This is unorthodox. I've certainly never seen this before in a takeover of a club. Anyway, because it feels like you're trying to curry favour with the fans, but you're not doing a very good job of it. So I think you're just better off submitting your bid, getting the legal stuff done, getting the paperwork done, getting the bid done, providing proper proof of funds, and then when you get control of the club, then reassure us, then speak to us, then tell us everything you're going to do. But sorry, question number 6. I can't read my own writing. Oh, yes, it is. So it's how much money do you have, number 6? How much? I understand you're not going to show me your bank statements. I understand that. But having spoken to somebody a little bit recently who deals with not football deals, but acquisition and whatnot, proof of funds is quite vague, really, because some people use like a letter of intent as a proof of funds. Actually, money in the bank. How much do you have? which we'll get on to. We'll get on to that in question 10 a little bit more. But I do think it's pertinent, you know, because we're worried that you might have to get it all and gather it all together, and you don't have any. How do you buy the stadium? Would be question number 7. Because it does seem to be an integral and vital part of what that you're trying to do. A big part of it. You want to buy the stadium. How? I think even if West Ham owners now, let's say, I was going to say if Sullivan won the lottery, Adrian, a lot of lotteries, let's just say, whatever, let's just say Sullivan had the money. Let's say he had 5 billion to spare and he wanted to buy the stadium. Not that it would cost that. If he went to the mayor's office, or, you know, basically whoever would make such a decision and said, I want to buy the stadium, they wouldn't just be able to say, oh yeah, there you go. Would have to go to tender, right? Because it's a government building. So there would be a number of people bidding for it. Now, I would understand that within that bidding process, there'd probably be something in there that would say that UK Athletics and West Ham would have to be homed somewhere. That would have to be sorted out. But there are 2 major, and I mean major companies, who have bought up much of the real estate. International. One of them's Chinese, I think. One of them's Middle Eastern. And they've bought up much of the property in and around Stratford. All those new things going up there, they're basically 2 companies that do it. If the Olympic Stadium goes up for tender, you would have to imagine either one of those 2 is going to be highly likely to get it. So what makes you confident of buying a stadium? How are you going to buy the stadium? This is a big part of your pledge. Ideally, I'd like someone to buy the stadium, because I think it needs completely reconfiguring, because we want, I say we want, I think we do, we want the seats close to the pitch. We're miles away, a lot of us. Some people are all right, some people in the corners, the proximity's not too bad, but there's a reason that other stadiums don't need a carpet. They don't need a carpet because they ain't trying to cover a running track. We are. So I'd like to know that. How are you going to buy this stadium? How are you going to climb over and or circumnavigate the obstacles that are just there by trying to purchase a government building? Number 8, what's your vision? Other than just words, I think. I guess a vision is by words. What is your vision for West Ham? And this sort of ties into question 4, why West Ham as well. What are you looking to do? Where do you want us to be? Where do you see us being? We're going to need some. I say we're going to need some convincing. Not everybody. Some people are just saying, let's get this deal done. This is what I'm saying. There's some people, without knowing all this information, who just want these people to take over the club. I don't. I need to know this stuff. So what is your vision? Because we had a vision and a 10-point plan from the previous ownership, and it hasn't worked. On Hammer's Chat, we've done the 10-point plan 2 or 3 times, and the 10-point plan's not been done. What are you pledging to do? And I mean, I certainly remember David Gold going on and doing an interview with the Moose at Talk Sport, where he said, "Oh, they weren't promises; they were more hopes." Okay, all right. So that's what he said. I certainly don't want to be going through that again. So, what are your promises? You know, I don't know about your hopes. What are your promises? What are you going to do? What's your manifesto? And I think that would be a fair thing to ask. Number 9 possibly should be number 1, but I just wrote this down and I was thinking of them. Is the money borrowed? Is the money that you are going to use to buy West Ham leveraged against West Ham? Is it borrowed? Because I think that's really, really important. Because, again, when Gold Sullivan took over, they said they were going to... there was massive debt at the club. I'm just laughing because of Canning Town Len's song. There's massive debt at the club. £100 million worth of debt at the club. 10 years later, there's over £100 million worth of debt at the club. I think we're all sort of done with debt, really. So, are these cleared? Spare funds? Basically, we'd all like it to be spare change in your pocket, because you get the impression that, particularly you look at Sheikh Mansour at Man City, I mean, they're pulling money out the ground. I mean, he's basically got the backing of a whole country behind them. I pretty much think it's safe to suggest that Man City is pocket change to Abu Dhabi. I think that's fair to say that. So I want to know, is the money borrowed? Because it ain't good if it is. I only speak for myself. All I'm doing here is speaking for myself. It's what I want to know. Some people might want to know more things than this, and I'm sure there are some questions that I haven't thought of. Some people don't care. It's just anyone but Gold Sullivan. But this is what is important to me. And number 10, you did the little Q&A thing on the website, on the Hammers News website the other night. And as I understand it, somebody asked you, will there be money to spend on players, or how much money will there be to spend on players? The answer was, as I say, this is third-hand news to me. I didn't watch the Q&A. I didn't even know it was going on. Basically, the answer was from you, buying players depends on how much you get the club for. Really? Really? Okay. So here's how I understand it. Here's how I understand it. The initial bid, we were understood, was meant to be 400 million. Then I think Thomas Skinner on Twitter turned around and said it wasn't 400 million, guys, it was 500 million. So let's assume that you bid for 500 million and it got accepted. Then how much is there to spend on players? Because this sounds like a finite amount of money. Does that leave 100 million to spend on players? Because, again, is that, what if Sullivan doesn't accept 500 million? What if it's 600 million and you end up paying 600 million? Does that mean you have no money to spend on players? Is this what happens? Because I do think it's a really pertinent question. And the one thing that worries me over all of this is, aside from the fact that the takeovers just don't get done this way, people with money just tend to go in and put their money down and buy stuff. So it's a very, very strange way of doing it, which has led to all these questions. What I want to know is, it's going to be really difficult to do it like this. These are the details that are important, but there seems to have been this public, I'm going to say tsunami, but this wave, if you like, this public wave of information, which has been very much bumfluffery. Let's call it bumfluffery. There's not much content there. There's not any of the details that are not, no, it's, oh yeah, we want the best for West Ham, we'll pay this, we got some legends involved, we're London based, we're West Ham fans. Lots of cliches, lots of platitudes, lots of words, but precious little. And I think when you're doing this, the one person you actually do need to listen to you here, aside from, you do need the fans, you're going to need the fans eventually. But as I say, I think you could have done that afterwards. The one person you are going to need to listen to you right now is David Sullivan. And at some point, if what you want to do is you want to do your due diligence, you're going to have to look at the books at West Ham. And there's only one person that's going to allow you to look at the books. So I'm not sure how much ridiculing him. See, I can say what I've said about it. He don't speak to me anyway. But I'm not sure how much ridiculing him in public. And almost, it feels like there's a stirring of the pot going on here to make the fans more vociferous than they already are. We've seen this with Sullivan. That's not going to make him more open and say, all right, do you know what, I've had enough. I think he battens down the hatches, and I think possibly when you go in and turn around and say, oh, excuse me, Mr. Sullivan, come look at those books now, he might turn around and say, no, you've been mugging me off in public for the past month or whatever. I don't know. It's a very, very strange one. It's a very, very strange dynamic here. Lots of questions. I will go back to what I said at the start, though. I would like new ownership. I really would. But it's got to be the right ownership. And you've got to have the money to do it. And I'd really like those 10 questions answered. And I understand you're not allowed to go and flash your bank statement around and whatnot. But I feel now is the time that if this bid is serious, we need to know a little bit more on the people involved. That the people that we can see who are down as founders of the company and down as directors, that's not cutting it for me. That's not that doesn't smack of either very, very rich people or West Ham people or anything like that. So we're going to need a little bit more. If there's other people involved, they're going to need to step out from the shadows now. They're going to need to make themselves known. We're going to need to know about money. And I'd like it really, really firmly established that this is not borrowed money, that you've got the money for this through. If it turns out that actually there's a really good reason for doing this, everyone on the consortium is minted. That means you've got lots of money, by the way. If everybody has got lots of money, if you have the money to do this, if there's spare money, if there's money for transfers, if you have proper football experts involved who are going to come in and revolutionise, because that's what I want, revolutionise the football club, sort the stadium out. I mean, you'd be most welcome. You'd be really welcome. Really, really welcome. Money in, sort the stadium out, sort the recruitment, academy, all of that stuff. Wonderful. You really, really would be. But as it stands at this present moment in time, not only are there more questions than answers, I'm not entirely sure I've heard a single coherent and factual answer at all. And that's what we're going to need.